I'm on a mission to find the greatest game ever made. Welcome back to the series where I play people's favorite games without an ounce of nostalgia and probably incite riots in the comments. Today we're looking at the most recent release of the series so far. A Game of the Year winner, a game that is often called the best roguelike ever made, and of course it is Hades. You guys probably already knew that because you clicked on the video and it is the thumbnail, but why not a little suspense, right? I actually played Hades back when it came out, but as is tradition with this series, I did not finish it. This time around, I completed it 10 times, rolled credits, spent about 30 hours in the game, and I have some thoughts. Possibly some controversial ones, but we'll get into that. So without any further ado, is Hades the greatest game ever made? Quick warning before I get into it, this video will contain spoilers. Story spoilers, gameplay spoilers. Honestly, for the story part of it, it won't ruin your experience, but if you want to go into it blind and you don't want to know about the ending, just click off. This is your warning, there will be spoilers. The premise of Hades is simple. Escape the underworld. You play as Zagreus, son of Hades, and at first you're just trying to escape because, like most teenagers, you hate your dad and you want to get out of the house. But after a few escape attempts, you realize that your birth mother is somewhere out there, and the mission becomes a lot more personal. Hades is a roguelike, which means every run is different, but also kind of the same. You collect temporary power-ups during your runs, you get permanent upgrades between runs, and you grow slightly stronger every single time you die, pretty much. The main hook is the Greek gods and their boons. After certain encounters, you can choose one of their 3 upgrades, and each god supports a different playstyle. So Zeus is like pure damage, DPS kind of thing. Athena is all about defense and deflection. Artemis is all about critical hit builds, and so on. There's 8 gods in the game, I believe. I could be wrong, that's just a guess. I think there's 8. But yeah, they all support a different playstyle, and it's super fun to build your preferred build around these gods, really. It's surprisingly deep, and honestly, it's really easy to fall into that, like, just one more run territory, which is definitely positive. But that ties well into the gameplay. Let's talk about the gameplay, because the gameplay is probably the highlight of the game, as it kind of needs to be for a game that you're doing the same thing over and over again, right? There are 6 weapons in this game. There is the sword, the spear, the shield, the bow, the gauntlets, and the gun, which feels historically accurate, right? You unlock them throughout the game using keys, which you will find throughout your run. And each one plays completely differently. For me, I was all about the sword. Big sword guy. I don't know why, it just clicked with me. Maybe it's because it's the first one I use and I got the most experience with it, but that was by far the best for me. The spear kind of just felt like a slightly worse sword. The ranged weapons never really clicked with me, and the shield was kind of encouraged a cautious playstyle that I wasn't super into. The gauntlets, though, they were also great. Those were my second favorite for sure. They were really fast, getting hits a lot. So if you paired it with things that you're getting some sort of power up on hit, then they were really good. Between runs, you upgrade Zagreus in the Mirror of Nyx, which you use Darkness, which you will also find in your runs, and you use it to upgrade your character permanently. So these are things like Death Defiance, which was an absolute must for me early on, pretty much just extra lives. Once a run begins, each chamber will give you a choice of 1 to 3 doors you can go through, and each one has a little preview of the reward that you're gonna get. So there's 3 doors, and one of them's coins, the other one's darkness, the other one has a little Zeus symbol, then you can choose which one you want to go through. Coins and darkness, it's a set amount. I think it's 100 coins and 10 darkness, but that can be changed through permanent upgrades. And then when you go through a chamber with a god on it, like the little Zeus icon, it has 1 of 3 options that you can take after you beat the encounter. So it really lets you kind of shape your build in a way that a lot of roguelikes don't. It's a lot less random. You're pretty much reacting to the RNG rather than becoming a slave to it. And this, I don't know if it made it easier because it was definitely built around it, but it definitely made it more purposeful. when you're running through the game, and like you kind of know what you're going for, and you can definitely do that. Like there will be runs where you get extremely unlucky and you don't get anything you want, even if there are choices and you can see them. But I found a lot of runs I ended up with a build that I was content with, which was good. I like that. For example, Athena's dash was which deflects everything when you press the dash. So you'll dash like, I don't know, 5 meters, and then as you're dashing, every attack deflects, whether it's projectile or melee, it deflects and it hits the enemy back, which was absolutely overpowered. I loved it, and I would pretty much derail my entire build just to get that one ability. Like it was needed every single time. And there's also the Daedalus upgrades, which are the little hammer icon. Those were very powerful upgrades for your damage and sometimes your defense, but they weren't connected to like gods or anything. They were just like kind of weapon upgrades, if you will. For the Daedalus upgrades, the one that cuts your health by 60%, but it gives you HP back on hit, that was absolutely key. Like I loved that upgrade. It was high risk, high reward. I loved it. It was, I think I probably, out of the 10 times I beat the game, I probably had that equipped like 5 of them, which is pretty good because it was rare. Like that upgrade was really rare. Even when you got a Daedalus upgrade, it was like maybe 30% of the time you'd get that, maybe 25. Like it was not common. But the combat itself is tight. Every weapon has attack, special attack, cast, which is your projectile, and the dash, which the dash is kind of just a Zagreus ability. It's not really a weapon ability, but either way. All of them can be modified with boons, all 4 of them. Some of my favorite combinations were Zeus's attack that it emits a chain lightning, so you attack one enemy and then lightning goes between a couple more. You can upgrade it so that it bounces between more and more enemies as you get stronger. Demeter's turret was awesome. It was her cast, and you plant a turret down and it shoots a laser. It was great for bosses and enemies that don't move a lot. And it was also just really cool to look at. It was like melting health bars. I loved it. And Poseidon's knockback builds. So he had the dash and the special, and I think the attack that knocked back enemies. And then if you pair that with his ability that makes enemies take more damage when they hit a wall, that was awesome. It was extremely satisfying. The combat, it's fast, it's reactive, and it honestly, it's really good at triggering that dopamine spike, which this game definitely has a lot of it. It really gets you into that, like, just one more run. Like, it really hooks you. It definitely does. I can guarantee that. One critique on the combat is the duo boons. I love them, don't get me wrong, but I was very disappointed at the lack of them. I felt like they were super rare, and it was fun when you got one, but I feel like there could have been more of them. And with a game that has so many different, like very different builds, I feel like it would have been fun to like synergize things like you can in like Ball Pit or Vampire Survivors. I don't know if it would be better if there was more of them, or if you could just make your own at certain points. Like maybe there was like a chamber where you could merge 2 of your boons together and it would make some super powerful one. Something like that. I would have loved a more deeper synergy system, I guess. Yeah, nothing like horrible. The gameplay was really, really good. There was just something that I wanted a bit more of, really. Performance-wise, I played this on PC and it was fine. Mostly smooth. There were a few freezes that forced restarts. There was one really annoying bug that when pretty much every time I started the game for the first like 3 or so minutes, the screen would minimize itself and I would have to like go into my little hotbar and click on it again. I think it was just different apps trying to fight for screen space, but I've never had that with other games, so I'm not sure. There was also this weird movement glitch only when I was in sticks, when Zagreus would spaz in random directions. I'm not really sure what that was. I'm pretty sure it was a bug and not a mechanic, but if it was a mechanic, it was a bold choice because it felt like a glitch, right? I'm not sure. Let me know if it wasn't, but yeah. Nothing game-breaking, just mildly annoying, really. Now, the characters. This is where Hades earns its reputation. Because as good as the gameplay is, there are games that are as good and better. But mix this gameplay, it's an indie game, with the characters' voice acting and writing, like you get something really special here. And the voice acting is excellent. Every character is memorable. Like even the ones I found annoying, like Dusa, have some incredibly funny dialogue moments. And I found myself like really enjoying talking to every character, which was which is pretty big praise because there's a lot of characters and there is a lot of dialogue. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot of dialogue, like an absurd amount of dialogue. And I'm someone who loves dialogue. Like I watch every cutscene. I, never skip dialogue, but here it was kind of a lot. And honestly, when a god interrupts your run, like mid-run, to give you some motivational lightning speech, sometimes I just move on after like the 40th time, right? But honestly, the characters were great. Skelly and Achilles felt like actual friends in a place where you felt very unwelcomed. Nyx has this calm, cosmic mom presence, which was oddly comforting. And Leon from Resident Evil is there too, which is cool. The story itself is serviceable. It's fine. It's not really anything special. You're trying to reconnect with your birth mother while your father tries to stop you. You don't know why at first, but eventually you learn that she believed you died at birth. And that kind of raised some logistical questions because, wasn't she there? I know Nyx, brought you back to life or whatever, but I feel like she would have known. I don't know. The reason your father is trying to stop you is because if you find her and the gods of Olympus find out, there will be a war that will break out, like a massive war between all the gods. And I don't really understand this whole thing about why she needed to be in hiding and what was going on there. If you understand that, you can explain in the comments. Feel free to, but for me, I was just kind of confused. Maybe it was because I skipped a bit of dialogue, but I don't know. The story, it wasn't great. It was fine. It was really just there to support the gameplay, in my opinion, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be a narrative masterpiece. It was super fun. So having this mediocre story with some really memorable characters in it, you can have a mediocre story with some of the best characters. That happens, right? And this is what that was. And I'm fine with it. It was okay, Visually, the game was also pretty awesome. Graphically, it's not chasing realism, obviously, and that is perfect. It definitely doesn't need to. The art style, though, that was the real rosemary in the chicken's ass, if you know what I mean. The character portraits are arguably some of the best interpretations of Greek gods I have ever seen in any medium, and I mean that sincerely. They are exceptional. Every single one is spot on. I do wish we saw some more fully animated versions of the Olympians, but even the still images are great. Nyx and Chaos especially look appropriately ethereal, and the different regions in the game. You start in Tartarus, and then you go to Asphodel, and then you go to Elysium, I think it's called, and then the Styx. All of them were distinct and very well designed. Even if Asphodel's lava pits kind of personally victimized me at times, they still looked great. Elysium was this awesome, kind of bright and colorful, I don't know how you even describe it. It was cool though, I loved it. It was probably the best looking area in the game. But yeah, visually the game looks great. The art direction is phenomenal, and I cannot praise it enough on the actual portraits of the gods that were in this game. We talked about almost everything, but now it's time for my final thoughts and slapping a score on this thing. Let's get started with my biggest issue about Hades. I wanted to save it for the end because it's probably my biggest controversial point, and I wanted people who are watching the whole video to see this, not just people who clicked on it and then will click off. So my biggest issue was when I first beat Hades, my first escape, successful escape, I thought that was it. I thought I was just going to unlock some cool, meaningful post-game content. I was going to be able to play it for another 10 hours with a different kind of narrative, or maybe even a different map to go through or something cool. But I looked it up, and you need to beat it 10 times to roll credits on the game. And I understand that is the roguelike structure, doing the same thing over and over again. But for me, once I proved that I could do that run, that same run, and I mastered the builds, I knew what builds were strong, I knew what I wanted to look for, it kind of just lost all of its tension, really. The game does add small amounts of variation and narrative justification, Zagreus can't survive in the overworld for too long, so he needs to keep going back to talk to his mother. But at the same time, it's I wish there was more after you beat your first run. Something different. Maybe the map itself changed. Maybe your dad got so mad that you escaped, Hades, and he just, decimated the entire map and it completely shifted. Or maybe there was a run after you escaped, a little you know, not as long, like a little one area to get through. That would have been cool. Something different that didn't just feel like a lazy way to make the game longer, which is kind of what it felt like. You can add some debuffs after your first escape, and I kind of messed with them a little bit, but I didn't really use them a whole lot. They didn't feel worth it fully to me, and honestly, the rewards that you got from them weren't like exceptional, so making the game even harder than it already was not really worth it. But that said, this is the most polished roguelike I've ever played. It does not feel indie in scope. It feels big budget, very carefully crafted, and honestly, you can tell a lot of care was put into this game, which is huge praise. I think the team, it was a small team, indie team, they did extremely well in making this feel like a big budget game. The difficulty curve is also excellent. Honestly, I suck at video games, but this was challenging and fair. I never really found myself thinking, I'm never gonna beat this. Like, this is too hard. So if you're bad at video games like I am, or even if you just are worried about sinking too much time into this and not being able to beat it, trust me, it's very doable. You will be able to get through it. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. Yeah, the difficulty curve was amazing for an average video game player like me. So, is Hades the greatest game ever made? For me, I'm gonna give it the score 77 out of 100, which is a pretty high score if you've watched the channel. It is, I think, the third best in the series so far, just behind God of War 2018 and Red Dead Redemption 2. So, yeah, it's up there. It's certainly up. It's a really, really good game. It's probably the best roguelike I've ever played still. I can say that with almost full confidence. I think I might be more into Ball Pit, but that's probably recency bias. I don't know. If roguelikes are your favorite genre, I can completely understand why this would be your favorite game. Like, fully understand it. No need to prove anything to me in the comments. Like, if you're into roguelikes and those are your favorite genre, by all means, call this your favorite game. Yeah, no arguments there. For me, if the pacing was better after the first escape, like if there was more to do after that and it didn't feel like I was just bashing my head against the wall just to get it done, the score would jump significantly, for sure. But as it stands, 77 is the highest and lowest I will go. Very good, just not God tier. And that was Hades. Was I too harsh? Maybe. But I'm definitely not as high on it as maybe a lot of people are. But let me know, is Hades your favorite game ever made? And if not, tell me what is. I'll make sure to add it to my biohazardous backlog that is currently burning a hole in my computer. Thanks for watching. I've been Janky, and I'll catch you in the next one.